those who don't make it, they always love to catch up with us here. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Wonderful day today. So one note I wanted to let everybody know is our friend Dennis, who's been leading these discussions, is at least on a month assignment at his company, and he won't be able to join these meetings for a while. So the first discussion I want to have is there anybody willing to step up and help us lead this conversation as we wait for Dennis hopefully to come back to the group after his 1 month assignment? Is there anybody that would volunteer to help me with that?
Russ, maybe this is a good time for me to share why I'm not going to raise my hand.
We got you busy enough, Forrest?
No, well, I'm leaving SAIC.
Oh. Okay.
I'm striking out on my own.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to bring in. We've picked a successor for me from the PGB perspective.
Okay.
But then I guess we have to figure out from the oncology project perspective. I'm going to be a single person LLC. I'm not going to spend money to join Oasis or well, any of that stuff,
right.
At least not in the near future. So, but I'd still be happy, time available to help out with the projects. So I guess we need to figure out how I can do that.
Right.
But
right.
in the meantime, that's one reason I'm not going to be able to raise my hand for another thing.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thanks for letting us know. We're going to miss you. But yeah, you can still participate in the work groups and everything. Open to everybody. And you may want to
right.
you may want to talk to Duncan. I think he's similar. He's in his own little company, and ask him how he does it.
Okay.
What it cost him and how he does it, because I'm pretty sure he's almost the same situation as you. So I don't know how they treat the smaller people, groups that want to join in versus like guys like us at IBM. It's
okay.
different.
Yeah, I'll talk to Duncan.
Yeah, so just talk. Duncan may be able to give you advice on how he handled his and what it means, and yeah, okay. But I get you. That's great. Sounds exciting for us.
Duncan,
it is. As soon as I can figure out the clearance issue.
Yeah,
that's my biggest problem right now.
That's right. Yep.
So Duncan apparently wasn't the smallest OCA recognized company. He had like 10 slots for employees. So maybe Russ, you could join S Fractal as Russ's protege, like Dan used to be.
Oh, good. I got a job offer on this call. Isn't this great?
I think you.
I'm sorry. I meant
S Fractal.
I meant Forrest.
Oh, Forrest. Yeah, that's better. I don't need a job. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said you should hook up with them. You may learn something about the small company.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, how it relates to Oasis and what he's doing and why he's doing it and whatever.
Yeah,
yeah, it can't hurt. Okay, well, it looks like my volunteer just came in. It's Patrick. Patrick just volunteered just because he came in latest. So thanks, Patrick. No, I'm just teasing. I just mentioned Patrick that Dennis, who's been driving these meetings, is unavailable for at least a month. He's on some company assignment, so I'm looking for some help here to drive these conversations forward, because I don't have the expertise nor time to do it. I'll be doing a lot of other things with the group, and I can't lead it technically.
I can recognize a good analyst if you need some help. I mean, look at me. I'm such a well-balanced human being now. Hey, listen, folks, I'm literally like back-to-back meetings. I'm going to eat some lunch here. Listen in.
That's good.
All right.
Yeah, I can probably speak for Mike and Dave and myself that we've got the cybersecurity automation workshop coming up, and so we are be focused on PACE activities for that, but it's mostly software development kind of things. So I imagine our time is going to be pretty tight for those 8 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe after those 8 weeks, we can talk again. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So given that, we may struggle having this work group for a while. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because I have a few topics I can cover myself, because I have been doing some work items underneath this group. But I think we're going to fast run out of material if nobody's preparing and leading for us to meet and talk about. So unless there's some other way we can make progress as a group on the fly, which I've never found effective, we may have to suspend this group a little while, hope Dennis comes back, but we'll see. We'll take it one step at a time. Okay, the two things I did prepare, one actually I can use your help for. As you guys know, I sent an email out about a week ago that we're writing this introduction to OCA. Remember that little document, that little puppy there that we talked about? I've been doing a lot of work on it, and folks have been commenting. Let me find it here. But I do need you guys to look at it. Has everybody been able to look at that document yet? I gotta find it.
I have not looked at the latest, so I know I gave you a chunk, but I haven't had a chance to look at what's been put together. So okay. I'll try to get that done soon.
If you could, yeah, if you could, it'll help me make progress. Even if you guys can't meet full time, do some work on this full time, I can at least keep moving as long as you guys give me input between the meetings. Otherwise, we're just going to stall. So let me share what I have, and I have had many people comment, which is awesome. That's good. There it is. I think it's this guy. I think you should see my screen here. You should see the document now. It's out on the shared drive that we have for Google Doc. And what I'm doing right now, we're in the phase of just getting data and putting it in the document. Well, I'll do the editing and flowing later. But I'm just taking whatever clumps of information that people have given me or creating it myself. And laid it out. So, I'm looking for advice. Again, I'd like folks to review it if you can before the meetings, because I'm not sure we'll get to them during the meetings. But, there's a few things I've made placeholders here, which I could use some expansion on, like an OpenC2, for example. I think some of you guys know that better than me. And we could talk about how that relates to, sticks and how it all relates to what we're trying to do for interoperation and how it can help us get better collaboration. So, I think these related technologies I listed here, I see as places where we can link them. We've already tried linking our use case to OpenC2, for example, as a start. And then obviously Stick Shifter and others use Sticks 2.1 as a basis. So that's all good. And Cacao, I just feel like it's going to link. We just haven't got there yet. So, but anyway, I'm looking for if you guys can help me, put a little paragraph in there, go right into document and edit, feel free. And if you can help me bridge, the value of these technologies and where we see them playing a role in the overall architecture of interoperation and collaboration. I think they all do play, but I want to tie the things together with this document. I would love some help. The other thing I have up here is, forcing functions. We talked about that in one of the meetings, right? The evolving security issues and the directive that's driving a lot of focus. All great. But it's kind of nice to kind of summarize that and bridge it to, okay, what actions should we take differently as an industry and security providers? And therefore, what should we be doing to enhance openness and collaboration? That's kind of what I'm thinking in these sections, but I could use help. So again, I'm looking for folks here. And then here, I'm working on the XDR one. I haven't got to the Zero Trust yet, but the XDR one I'm working on. But just wanted to kind of take a lay of the land. There's been a heck of a lot of acquisitions. I think some of it's due to, adjacency. Some of it is due to things like XDR and Zero Trust that says, I'm a portfolio vendor out there. I don't have everything I need, so let me go acquire some of it so I have a better portfolio. I think a great example of that is how Palo Alto's acquiring products and filling in their holes. And there's many more like that, but it would be nice to kind of give some examples and ideas of why is this market doing that? And, for us that have been through technology markets before, this is normal. You get started, a lot of innovation, lots of different solutions, and then you get to an evolution and a consolidation, and we're starting that here, I think. And so I want to kind of capture that in this section. I will talk a minute about XDR and what I've done here, because I have started working on this. And the Zero Trust, I just haven't got to yet. And Zero Trust, I think I was going to do after XDR, but if anyone wants to take a jump start at that, because Zero Trust is right up the alley of unique collaboration across security silos. But I'd like people to, lay out, why Zero Trust is there, and then how it really needs better openness and collaboration to achieve it. That's what I'm thinking. So let me stop there and see if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah. Russ, what were you looking for in the recent vendor evolution? Were you just looking for an overview, or what were you doing there?
More maybe overview with some examples. I think the overview part was, Darryl, what I was thinking about, the fact that the security industry is maturing and it's natural to consolidate a lot of things across these domains. And then maybe a couple of examples of how some of the approaches that vendors are taking, right, are showing that in order to, as they acquire these, they're integrating these pieces and they're getting better, richer solutions. But they're still islands, but they're bigger islands, but that's good. And then tease out what I'm thinking, Darryl's tease out, that's a good step, but we really need to take these bigger islands and bring them together. And I think that's what Zero Trust is going to have to do. And talk about, given that, if we want to get to this, really, I think the end game of total collaboration or better collaboration, we really need to step into the open and, agree on some level of standardization. That's the way I'm outlining it in my head, Darryl. That may not be the right way, but that's what I was thinking.
So just anticipating that this is going to be an ongoing development with regard to these categories that get created.
That's right. Yep.
Do we want to use terms like XDR, or I guess this is going to sound a little crazy, even I guess as the overarching term, would we want to use terms like XDR or Zero Trust, or do we want to use other more timeless term? That's just a thought. Like XDR is, to me, it's a fabricated category, right? Because when I worked at Gartner, that's what analysts would be.
That's right. Some of these, you're right. Some of the cuts, right. I think of it more as it recognizes the need to start putting silos together, in this case, endpoint and network, and it provides added value doing that. So you can call it what you want. You can say today's industry, the focus is on that. And the reason is because we really need to do the endpoint network correlation, because we're not able to, gather the security intelligence and understand things in context because we're too siloed. That kind of theme is what I was thinking. But I'm okay leaving the current terms there because people are going to relate to it. How do you guys relate to Zero Trust? How do you relate to XDR? As you said, the marketing terms and the Gartner terms are appropriate to map to, well, how do we in OCA relate to those?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
If that makes sense. But I get what you're saying. And next year it'll be something else. So you're right.
That's exactly was my
absolutely
thought.
But I'm hoping and we're seeing the progression, right? We're seeing just even XDR versus Zero Trust. XDR is a piece, and then Zero Trust is even more, right? Because we're realizing XDR isn't going to solve the Zero Trust use cases, right? And
one big area that's not in here that you'd want to consider is going to be the whole category of secure code.
That's right.
Secure code and applications would be a category I would have here, because it's the largest area of neglect. And what we're seeing now in the MISM space, low code, no code, and then some of the bridging that happens in server and serverless environments.
Okay.
Around development, there's really not any clear picture of how. I think there's some companies like is it Drema? I forgot who it was. There's some companies that are purporting to say that they do parallel static code analysis and then push to the developer. But the problem is that developers have squeezed the whole dev process out from waterfall to what we have now in less than a decade, and it's there are no steps. There are apparently no steps in the middle anymore. It's just write an answer and erase. Don't show the work kind of thing. And so that's another area that if you want that's where there's almost no consolidation, and there's actually continued expansion, which is in the dev space.
Mm-hmm.
And there doesn't appear to be any security that's working in parallel or at the same pace as development across applications.
No, I got you. The only thing that I think about there was how's that relate to what we were doing in OCA, and would we want to, how are we going to tackle that? Because we don't have any projects around that, and we don't have any approach to it. So that's the only thing you got to think about is, we want to relate it to.
Well, that's exactly, I would say it's the gap in these projects with regard to ZTNA. Why does Zero Trust not take consideration and to secure code? Why is it a category now that seems to be associated with supply chain?
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't make sense that it doesn't fall into these categories. And it seems to be the largest area of neglect. Ironically, it's the one intersecting point where humans interact with technology for one sole purpose. It's to get to those applications.
True. That's true.
They could care less about the infrastructure, the network hierarchy. They don't care about any of the layers except for that service layer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So again, you're more than welcome to add other sections to this. We know this is not comprehensive. As you said, this is going to be more of an evolving document as things evolve. Right. Both the standards we're working on, the projects we take on, and the technology that it evolves. So absolutely, Daryl. I mean, it's gonna evolve.
Just looking at the bullets here from the standards perspective, OpenC2, of course, is command and control. STIX is threat intelligence. XDR or EDR is endpoint threat detection and response. And so Vasilius can probably elaborate more on that. But within the OpenC2 world, we were thinking about splitting the detection piece from the response piece, because when we're talking about OpenC2, that's all about the response, and STIX is related to the threat detection piece. So I don't know whether XDR is, I guess you said it was a Gartner synthetic category, but we're splitting it up into separate pieces because they really aren't that closely related as far as detecting indicators of behavior and then deciding what to do about it and then actually doing something.
Right. Oh, sure. It's very distinct actions. Absolutely, David. Right. No, I think some of what I think of an XDR is it's the domains you're talking about, the detection on the network versus the detection on the endpoint as well. They're different. What you're looking for, how you protect it. You do different things on an endpoint than you will do on a network. So those are also, unique. Well, feel free to add your comments in here, David. I mean, you guys can edit this document. It's out there, the link that I sent out. Love to get you guys to enrich this as much as you can. Any other comments in this section? I'll walk down a little bit more. All right, so I've started pulling some of this. I mean, right now it's just stacks. I think I put PACE in here. I think I got this from, and Duncan's been reviewing it. I got this from the PACE team. First, I think you gave me something on ontology. I haven't got to it yet, right? Is that right? I think you sent me something. I just haven't put it in here. So hopefully, Farsh, you sent me stuff. I'll just put it in there. Like engaged behavior, they gave me their stuff. Zero Trust I haven't worked on yet. It's on my list. And then the architecture, which is this group, I put stuff in here based on some other documents we had from previous discussions. Okay, then this is a reference set of things that.
Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute, but the answer was yes. I had sent you.
Yeah, I thought you did. It was on my list of things to do. I have to get to it, and I'll put whatever you have in here. And again, the whole objective I have is just to fill in all the sections. I got to do Zero Trust to get, and then we'll make it readable and flow and editable and stuff like that. But it's really the intention of the document is a snapshot of if someone asks what does OZA and what are they doing, I want to give them this document because we don't have anything like this. we kind of tell them, here's a bunch of GitHub projects, and you figure out what they're really doing and what their objectives are. And there's a bunch of material out there that you got to kind of go through at a very low level. So this is trying to bring that up a level and kind of bring it to a summary level of what's going on here and why we're doing it. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, just so you guys know the intent. And then I do know a lot of people have asked me, well, what's my audience? And I've got several audiences, but I want to get this out there first. But you can have an audience of, gee, we're OCA, we're open, we're looking for developers to help us add more projects and enhance the ones we've got. That's an audience. B, you customers out there, you should start insisting and looking for your solution vendors to be more open so you can accomplish more with less complexity, right? So that's another audience that we can address. C, the technology partner alliances out there, the technology people that are off doing their own thing. It would be better if we agree on some level of standardization, so it makes all our lives better and actually less expensive, because we don't have to keep writing these connectors point to point across the whole portfolio, and we have better values. If you connect to me and I connect to you, we both get value out of that from a technology partner. So I could see at least those three audiences and maybe more. But for right now, I'm just trying to write the document to capture, what we're doing, and then we can probably address those unique environments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think having I like this summary section here with the overviews of each and then the reference links. So as a consumer of this kind of stuff, there's might be one or two things that are going to really resonate with me to the point to where I want to drill in deeper and have a look at them. So I think that that concept here of sort of shape the problem, and then here's what we're doing, and here's reference implementations. So I think it's really good, because no one's going to go start collecting on a bunch of GitHub links and trying to make their way through it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we have right now, which is
I'm just supporting what you're doing here, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, that's helpful, because I agree with you. I've tried to explain to people what we're doing. OCA, and it's very difficult because I don't have anything I can grab. I have to kind of bridge.
Oh, the overarching is outreach and engagement, right? We're trying to get
interoperability, and collaboration.
And providing reference implementations is key. So,
yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. All right. Any other comments? Is that I'm asking you to, if you haven't looked at the document, please go through it, edit it, add stuff. Feel free. I mean, it's a group document. I'm just trying to harvest some stuff so we can get things going. And I've had some good comments from a set of people, but when I look through the list on this group, I don't think I've heard from any of you on this yet. So I'd love you to do so, because you all have great perspectives and different points of view that I think will help embellish this and make it more comprehensive to folks that we need to address this for. Okay, so I think that's all I had on the agenda. That's all I've been working on at this point for the architecture group. As you know, Dennis was more looking at in the NCCOE and the what was going on relative to the standards. I do want to talk about one thing I did drill on, and I'll talk about this XDR thing. I think, Daryl, you'll love this story. So I went looking to see what was happening in the industry for XDR. And interestingly enough, and I don't know how that happened, but interestingly enough, about last fall, I guess it was, I saw a lot of vendors embrace the terminology and start positioning themselves in the XDR world, which is a natural thing for vendors to do when they hear a hot topic. I get that. And what I found, which is interesting, was we had actually two different technology companies form alliances around XDR. So that's not unusual. Okay. This is about November, fall last year that I saw this. And one was a company called Exabeam, which is a kind of a SIM vendor, SIMSOAR. And the other one was CrowdStrike. They probably formed within days of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not surprised. They both react to each other. So I said, fine. That's, to be honest with you, that's something we would do as well. Just let's get something going. Let's get some partners and friends together, and let's figure out what we want to do. Natural. Okay. The next thing I found was There's about 11 companies in Exabeams, and I think 13 of them are in CrowdStrikes, of which 4 of the companies are in both. So what I did, what I'm in the process of doing, and here's my fundamental thought process, and I've been through this before in other technologies. If you're all doing collaboration, you're all going to have to come up with a way to communicate across all of yours, because I've been through this before. And while you're doing that, and before you even do it, because they're really not that far, why don't we think about some layer that should be open? All right, I know there's not a 100% layer, but we got 0%. Let's make it some percent common. So my discussion with the groups have been, look, you're doing this, it's great. You've got, Crowd XDR Alliance, it's called, was it launched in November 2021 with 11 members. And the Exabeam XDR Alliance was launched on August 3rd, maybe, with about 10 members. All right, and there's 4 companies that are members of both. So I went out to their websites, beautiful websites, and looked to find out what they were doing and who was involved, all good stuff. And then I started looking for the technical stuff, and there wasn't anything out there. So part of me says, okay, it really was a marketing effort. But if you're going to go behind the scenes, because maybe they're just not publishing everything. So that's what I'm doing. I'm meeting with some of the companies that I know that are in these alliances, and I'm actually going to meet with hopefully meet with the Exabeam people to talk to them and say, look, as you're going through what you're doing, is there anything that you're experiencing there that would make sense to move into more of an open forum like OCA? So we have a building block. And by the way, because we already have 2 different islands of XDR alliances, let's at least at that layer agree on some commonality, so each of your individual XDR alliances have some commonality so we can cross over. So that's kind of where I'm going. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A whole lot of sense.
Okay.
Sure. So, can you remind which company you said you weren't finding much information about?
The XDR Alliance that Exabeam launched. If you go to, they got a nice website.
Okay.
You go to their website, beautiful website. But there's nothing published. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that they may be just doing proprietary stuff. It's www.xdralliance.com, I think. Nice stuff out there. But they're just not being visible now. So I'm contacting some of these companies to find out what's going on there. And there's more under the covers than you see. But the point was, publicly we don't see a lot of technology evolution in either of these alliances. And again, they're early. That's fair. And that's why I want to get in there before it gets too far and say, let's purposely make a decision on, can we join forces in some way and the OCA be the place where we standardize on, the communication and the networking that has to happen across these alliances? Because I looked at the type of vendors that are in the XDR Alliance, and they got email companies, endpoint companies, they got IoT device companies, they got threat detection companies in there. So you got as expected, a dichotomy of different types of vendors. And again, obviously, how are they going to communicate across that alliance to do whatever their goals and achievements are supposed to be? Same with the Crowd XDR Alliance has a set of vendors. Again, there's SIMs, there's SOARs, there's identity management, there's endpoint managers, there's behavioral, yada yada. So the same thing. So those are the kind of companies I see in there. And I think, again, I think there's a possibility that we can at least come up with a building block approach, as I'm trying to think of in terms. So I'm going down that path. I'm talking to some companies I know that are in those alliances. I'm trying to get right. I know the person in the CrowdStrike group. I just found out who the right person was in Exabeam. I'm going to go chase that. And if I find out, there's something there, then, I see that as another example and maybe a first step of beyond what we're doing today in our projects with the stick shifters and everything else and pace and what's out there, as another example and a place where in OCA we have something that helps us create better collaboration and for the needs of the market that's after the network and endpoint detection collaboration.
So while you're out there looking for possible opportunities, if you find anyone that's working on a replacement for OpenDXL, that would be great. For PACE, we're looking for adding security to transport mechanisms. Of course, we've just got
Yes.
blank HTTP and we've got MQTT, but standard ways of doing message signatures or transport security, that would be a great place for standardization.
Great. Great. Thanks for asking. I'll bring that up when I talk to them. What kind of communication mechanisms that they have, because the companies that exist in these alliances now don't really. It's a point-to-point thing for each of them. So yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Now, I fear, a normal alliance in a technology partnership ends up being some vendors, the de facto infrastructure provider, everybody jumps on their bandwagon and plugs in. But let me find out. And another place that we could potentially say, let's not do it that way. Let's try and do it in an open way so we can communicate across some disparate environments. Maybe a good angle at this. Okay, David, I'll certainly put that on my list.
Yeah, well, the de facto may be cloud vendors right now. So if you go to Amazon or Azure and you look at their implementations of MQTT, they've got a way of doing it. It's not documented as a standard, but if it were, that would be great. But it's certainly de facto if it's not standard.
That's right, and that's sometimes how it starts, doesn't it? Yeah, de facto standard. Okay, no, thank you. I'll put that on the list of things that I asked. So I'm just running that road as part of my follow-on for the architecture. That's the piece of work I'm doing. But as I said, I can't. Other than that, I can't. Other than editing this document, I can't lead these conversations every week. So anyway, appreciate you guys taking a look at this stuff. Give me some input. Add sections. Comment appropriately if I don't have anything out there you think we need, and we'll try and use the document as a communications vehicles. As I said, I'm worried about the effectiveness of these calls if we have nobody leading them, because I can only share the content I'm working on for pieces of what we're doing, but we don't have anybody really driving the end game, which is what Dennis was doing until he gets back. So anyway, think about that. As I said, I may have to suspend these meetings because we don't have a lead for them until I can find one. But let's keep going on this document and this discussion at least. And if we have enough, if I've created enough material by myself doing what I'm doing, and we have another call, I'll be happy to do that. And we can at least focus and make progress on this. I'm happy to do that. But otherwise, as I said, I'm looking for some help here in picking up the pieces that we've lost Dennis for a little while.
Hey, Russell, one comment on that. I think you're doing a heck of a job. And unlike Dennis, you actually pause.
I have to breathe, Patrick.
I saw the comment, I think, from Dave earlier that, his head is spinning. Me as well. I mean, it's all good stuff. Oh, my God. Is this just natural? Is his brain just naturally doing this, or is he preparing? So anyway.
Yeah, he must have a special skill, because I always laugh when you comment of, I want to understand what that engine is that's driving your discussion.
In any case, I found this to be a productive conversation from my perspective. I can't speak for others, but I'm guessing the same. So I think you're doing a heck of a job, sir, and I'd be more than happy to carry on. And we'll try to carve out some time to actually produce some comments for you on the document. That
would be great. If you just do that, it may stimulate enough for me to keep these discussions going. If you guys can just, hook in there and bring your expertise in. I think we have enough here to A, have a productive discussion, and B, I think the output of this is needed by OCA and useful. So, at least, even though it's scoped at where we are, I think it's useful and it's something that we as a collaborative team can work on. So anyway, I'll leave that at what I'd like to see you guys do as next steps. We'll see how much comments I get between now and the next meeting. If I do find I'm a little short, I may just send an email out to the group and say, here's what I've got, is it worth having a meeting on it, or should we just postpone? So I may get to that point. I may have enough just to get through another meeting, but we'll see where we go. It's going to depend on how much I can get some help from you guys on at least this part of the document. Okay.
Just a general comment, Russell. We got a threat analytics summit. I got to present to like 700-800 people, and it's like in 3 weeks. So I actually got to run. And my boss just let me know that it's happening and I need to make a presentation. So let me go talk.
Well, perfect timing, because I was just about to end the meeting.
Actually, Russ, I have one more point for the group.
Yes, Forrest, go.
Patrick, you've already heard the plea, so if you got to go, by all means, go ahead. But we're in the ontology development group. We're kind of at a logjam or sticking point. What we really need right now some help with is some example files of the data that would flow across the system that is represented in the use case. Like where it says the endpoint or the scan would be done and it would pick up these file characteristics A, B, and C. And so what are those file characteristics, or what are those elements of data, and what would be a good example of the data that would be in that field? I know we talked about this a little bit, and I think you're on the call when we said, oh, let's make sure we use don't have domain names resolved to real domains and all that, but I still don't have any good examples yet. So that's kind of the sticking point we're at in order to get this to fully knock out this use case that we're working on. If anybody can step up and help us with, like, what would be a file that would be sent, what would be an example of a file that would be sent to the SIEM from an endpoint in the scan, what would be the data elements that contains, what would be some sample data contained therein. That's exactly what we need right now to move forward with the project.
And would any of the flows, with any of the flows that are in the use case work, or is it specifically the scan?
Well, so the use case is going from infection to detection.
Yes.
So it's really those files, that data that would be involved in the infection, and really what we're actually, the first thing we're seeing is actually the detection and then the contents of the email. So it's really just that, those pieces is all we need.
Okay.
Like, in the story it says, and then the computer, the endpoint security does a scan and it discovers these data elements that, were a flag of malicious activity. So I need that list and what example, what would be an example data that actually found that led it to believe that it was a malicious file. That's what we need. So if anybody can maybe help with that, if anybody works with samples of those and say, oh yeah, our software in our company actually, processes those files. Here's what the file would look like, and here would be example content that's been sanitized appropriately, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. And then have you by chance asked any of the endpoint vendors that are OC this question or no?
I haven't gone to them specifically. Okay. I just called it out to the.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
So, but I guess I could put that in an email to the architecture group, or should I do it to the?
Do it to the PGB. Do it to the PGB.
Okay, I'll do the PGB.
Yeah, because we have, as you know, we have endpoint vendors out here. So yeah. I think you have a broader at the PGB. Just say, hey, we're looking for, as you just exactly said, hey, we're doing the ontology work, and I need some source data. Here's the use case I'm working on. Here's the data, the scan you're talking about. And I know we have endpoint vendors in the group that could probably help there. That's where I was going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. Good idea.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Anything else from anybody? Otherwise, thanks for joining, guys. I'll give you some time back and appreciate your support.
Thanks, Russ.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks.